All right. Good morning, everybody from Texas, and all of our friends beyond Texas. We are coast to coast. I don't even know if there's Canadians on here, but definitely the good United States. Get out there and vote. Vote early so that you don't have to deal with the lines. And wishing Jason a happy belated birthday. We just talked about what a wise man he is, that Miss Sarah tells him what to do and he does it. So I love that. I love that. Tomorrow is inventory creation day. So if you are running the place productivity cadence, it is tomorrow, November 1st, because today is the spooky day. Today is Halloween. It is October 31st. We are wrapping up the month of October. Does anyone have any other announcements, any shout outs, anything that they want to share this morning? Pop your hand up. If so, going once, twice. Oh, then I am going to Mr. Jason Baker. I'm going to spotlight Jason for you because you got to see that he is 1 year older. Um, good morning. We
Good
had
morning.
we had a good conversation last week. For sell by owners, by far one of the scariest things uh, our agents think about because I see that we don't really work the for sell by owner lead gen lever. And we had a good time last week. So I want us to continue delving into this because I don't know if you guys know, I'm going to pull up I'm going to put it in the chat, the link for last week's call. It was the most watched call after the call that we've ever had. So I don't know what it is about for sale by owners. Either people either really like them, Jason, or they were
Yeah,
really scared of them and then they want to learn more about them. So have at it. I'm ready for you.
awesome. Well, thanks for having me back. I got some very positive feedback, and obviously, any speaker's greatest wish is that people take the information and use it to help better their lives. So, was there anybody that made some calls that maybe hadn't done that before, and was there any feedback or any successes? And if we could take a minute and celebrate some of those successes and that courage, I would love to hear about it. And I think that it does take some courage to call for sale by owners. And there's just some of the stuff I talked about last week. It was, how do we get ready to call them? What do we say when we call them? What does that scripting look like? What's the difference between a listing appointment and a preview? And there was a comment, and I sent it to you, Adelina, that I cannot repeat on this call about the concept of our previews. So, like a lot of us, like last week, if you got anything from last week, when we're calling these for sale by owners, there's a lot of practice up front, but it is actually the doing of that in getting into it and just having the courage to call them, but really setting a high expectation for yourself, where you are not taking the easy way out, which would be the preview, that we're actually going on a bona fide listing presentation. So if you got nothing from last week, that would be it. But did anybody set any listing appointments that they'd like to discuss now, or should I just dive right into creating doubt and transitioning into the appointment, which is what we're going to cover today? Or any team leaders that had agents call and set appointments or anything like that?
Shannon on our team, and she's on the call. She did set an appointment that afternoon.
Fantastic. And had she been calling for sale by owners prior, or what was the change that happened?
Shannon, you want to chat, or should I say?
I'm shy.
Don't be shy.
So I had been making FSBO calls, and I really thought I was killing it because I was making preview appointments. Yeah. And I quickly learned that it's a time waster to set preview appointments. So your call session really gave me courage to just get to the point, stick to the money, stick to what's important, right? Ask the questions. And I really, really leaned into what you said about ending conversations, not in a negative tone, but not on a high side. So like when you said, have you received any offers that were not rent
Yes.
to buy? So that was really that was very effective. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's awesome, and good job for doing that. The one thing we can't get back, and I know this more than ever in my life right now, is every minute in our life is super precious, and we cannot ever get that back. And we have a natural resistance to making calls in the first place, typically. And when we continually see failure, which the preview method will lead to way more failure than it will success. Again, it's letting our mentally, subconsciously letting ourselves off the hook a little bit too easy. And you'll go on all these previews, they'll end up not listing because it wasn't a powerful enough presentation from the get-go because of the lower expectation, lower courage level. And we start to tell ourselves, our drunk monkey, we hear a lot about that at Keller Williams and in Bold and everything else. We start to see, we go on 10 of these previews, and maybe we're lucky enough to get one. And, we start to tell ourselves that for sale by owners don't work. And so I think just taking that approach that you did, and, really good job is really the way to go. Again, listen to your team leader and do everything they say, like I do with Sarah. So I'm going to dive in. If there's any other successes, throw them in the chat and we can get them towards the end of the call. Okay. So part of this is creating doubt, okay, in the mind of a for sale by owner. There's a lot of reasons why they're not wanting to list with an agent. A lot of them are true. A lot of them are conjured up in our own mind. And I just wanted to cover some of those things. And, be interactive. If you have comments, just throw them out there. And by the way, I'm in our stock trailer because my kids are getting ready for school. And we have a couple guests in our suite where I normally do this. So if the internet cuts out, I'm kind of a long way from the house out by the cattle. So anyway, there you go. But to create doubt, so how many offers have you received in the last week and or since you listed this on Zillow or Craigslist or wherever else? Okay. By the way, our team has received 10 offers on our listings in the last week. Did you know that most for sale by owners never even get a qualified offer? That's a very powerful question, a very powerful banter question. We're trying to create doubt, and the solution to the potential, a FSBO never thinks, they never leave room in the old noggin for failure. In other words, whether it's ego, it doesn't matter what it is, for whatever reason, they never consider, oftentimes they don't consider that it might not sell. And we know that 92% of all homes that sell with powerful agents like ourselves. So if really we're advisors or trusted advisors, isn't it our job to make them think about the possibility that they won't sell? So we have to first convince ourselves that we can do it. Anything in life, right? We can do it. And then once we actually believe that through confidence and role play and chanting the scripts and writing the scripts out and making them our own, not changing the questions on the scripts, but understanding the banter in the middle, is going to create a confidence, and people will feel that coming through the phone, and you will be able to create this doubt. Very rarely do the for sale by owner sell, and if they do, they sell for less. We know that. Okay. NAR's done study after study on that. They sell for less. It takes longer to sell, less exposure. These things are all true, that it's not BS. The second way that I create doubt on these phone calls is I ask, did you realize that Zillow is already tallying up your days on market? And most for sale by owners have to list to sell. In fact, 92%. Okay. And you don't want your house to look like it's been on the market forever, do you? So, so I do a little sharp angle close here. I say, if you were a buyer and you saw a listing sitting there forever, would you offer full price? Or would you, like most people, think the price is too high or something's wrong with the home? If there wasn't, it would have already sold. Like, no buyer, Adelina, would you agree with me that no buyer is going to come, like, let's say that it's a 6-month listing. They're going to come, it's 179 days into the process. And that buyer is going to go, man, this must be a smoking deal. Nobody else has bought it for the last 179 days. But man, I'm telling you, it must just be a sign that this thing is just, nobody comes along after 6 months and says, man, this is great, So nobody does that. Would you agree with that?
Very much so.
Yeah. I mean, nobody does that,
Even,
right?
even 30 days. Even 30
even 30 days, right? Like, back at COVID, it was 30 seconds, it was on the house for 30 seconds or something wrong with it. So anyway, pardon my sniffles. I don't know. I got hay fever or something. So, but anyways, did you realize, it's number 3, the way that I create doubt. And again, this is just learning these things, because as you're going through these conversations with people on the phone, it's you have to kind of read. So before I do a call session, I read through this whole entire thing that we shared last week, and I've actually updated it a little bit and refreshed it a little bit, Adelina. So that same link I sent you last week has some new updates to that form you might share. So in the unlikely event, creating doubt at number 3, how do you know that you're netting the most amount of money? I constantly want to bring them back to net, because the reason why they didn't list with us typically is because they didn't want to pay a commission or they didn't see our value. That's another question that I ask. Another one I ask is, are you just looking for any buyer, or a buyer that will close on time with the least amount of contingencies? See, I know in my mind, if they're on one website, and we're here locally, we have about 3,000 agents and they all have a website. So it's IDXing out to 3,000 websites. Or would you rather have it on 3,000 to 3,500 other websites? See, I know that if it's in our MLS, it's going to have way more exposure than just Zillow or ForSaleByOwner.com or FSBO or whatever else, Craigslist, whatever else they use. So that's going to create more showings. More showings is going to create more offers. That's one of the big reasons I can net them more money, or I'm confident that I can net them more money, or at least have a better chance to net them more money, because more showings, more offers, the higher chance for competing offers. That's one of the big ways that I net for sale by owners more money in real life. Another way is, if we're closing 150 transactions a year, that probably means we got about 300, we probably get 2 or 3 offers per property on average right now. And so maybe we're negotiating 500 buy sells every year. How many have they negotiated? So I'm not only going to be able to help them hold more gross up front, also on the inspection, because what are we fighting here? We're fighting the doubt in our own mind that when that for sale by owner seller says, I can just do whatever you do, or I can do the same thing as what you do. Really? So you've negotiated 500 transactions, or Adelina's team closes like 9 million transactions annually, which means she negotiates, 40 billion buy sells, So it's one of those things, like, our admin team, and we're just immersed in this. And between the initial offer price and post-inspection final price, after all of those negotiations have been done, a second round of negotiations, that's another place that I can save these sellers a ton of money between those two. Okay. The other, number 5, like, what do you think buyers agents are telling their buyers about a for sale by owner? If I'm working with a for sale by owner, I'm telling my buyer, look, there's likely not even going to be an offer, so we can come in low. We won't have to go above list. In fact, I'm going to try to get as much money off as I can, and they haven't negotiated anything maybe ever in their whole entire life. So we're going to have a better chance to get a lower price. We're going to get way more concessions. I might even be able to submit an offer if you have a house to sell that's not even on the market yet. I might be able to get that done for you on a for sale by owner. And I'm telling the seller these things. If you are lucky enough to even get an offer, this is the kind of garbage that you might see. I don't know that I use that word, but garbage has been in the news a lot lately over the last couple of days. So I thought I'd throw that in there. And also, on our last call, I said that you can vote on November 15th in my excitements. Only Democrats can vote on November 15th. So wait till then to go ahead and vote. But the rest of us need to do that before November 5th. Okay, I'm sorry. Adelina just shut me off. Okay, so number 6 on creating doubt. you do realize most buyers are already working with an agent whom you'll have to pay around 2.5 or 3% anyway. So all I need to do is come in and net you between the initial offer price and the home inspection, save you an extra 2.5 or 3% in order for me to be worth my salt, correct? And so they're just like, really? They start to do the math. Man, what you've done there is you've taken it down to where you're only fighting over 2.5 or 3% versus 6 or 5, right? So you're breaking it down for them and you're making it easier to get the appointment. Okay, so these are just some of the ways that I create doubt. All right, we sent those out. There's a total of 13, but I'll never be able to get through them all in this call. Those were the ones that I used the most. Just review the document that Adelina will repost, okay? Is there anything else you would add? Any other ways to create doubt? Opening up the floor.
Deanna.
So I have a quick question. I don't,
Anything.
okay, so you said on your, I think it was number 2, you said that, did you know Zillow starts tallying the days on market once you input it?
Mhm.
Advertising that the price is too high or that something is wrong with it. So when you're saying that, as opposed to what?
So when they put it on for sale, when they put it on Zillow, right? It'll say the days on market as a for sale by owner. So those days are ticking up and up and up and up and up. And if you go to list it, Zillow does not remove the prior for sale by owner days on market. It adds on top of what you as a realtor are stacking.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to let them know that time is of the essence and you do not want to end up with a red herring listing. A red herring around here would be anything on the market for us over 60 days. Since most people think Zillow is God, Zestimates and everything else, we could do a whole, session on that. You're trying to create you're trying to create you're trying to get them to say, you know what, every day does matter, right?
All right. Okay. Thank you.
So what I said for that close was, if you're a buyer and you saw a listing sitting there and getting stale, would you offer full price? And they're going to be like, no. We say, great. That's exactly why we should meet. I have Thursday or Friday available. Which would work best for you? 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock? That kind of thing. Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. I'll assume it did. Awesome. So the next thing I wanted to kind of get into is some of the crazy. Go ahead.
Do you have time for 2 quick questions?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Thank you.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome. Hey, Kevin, I got you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go.
Hey, Jason, I'm not sure if they are as prevalent up there as they are down here in my market, but we're coming across quite a few flat fee listing services.
Yes.
So, for instance, when I do call a for sale by owner, or in fact, I called somebody his home had sold 2 weeks ago with one of the flat fee listing services. And so, like, the conversation kind of went like, "Oh, Kevin, I get what you're saying, sir, but 12th Man Realty will list my home for $1,200 flat and give me all the services that you provide." So, what would you say to that?
So that's a really good thing. And say did you just say he was expired or he was for sale by owner?
This one instance was an actual person in my database whose home sold. You're kind of talking about.
I covered this. Yeah, I covered this last week. So if you got it prior to it selling, obviously prior to it selling. So those companies we don't have those here in the way that you just described. So, but I do have one company here called Congress Realty. Congress Realty charges a $500 flat fee.
I didn't think about till I was driving in because I had one of the areas.
Congress Realty has a $500 flat fee, but all they do is just post it on the MLS. So I don't know if that $1,200 involves everything that we do, but it couldn't be everything that we do because my acquisition cost and my cost per sale is way higher than $1,200, which means I actually market the property. So how I would approach that if it were me, I completely understand that $1,200 seems very reasonable. I have run the statistics on ABC Real Estate, the flat fee listing service, their average list price to sale price. And here's the printout, because I actually have the printout because we deal with this a lot with our $500, just throwing it on there. Their average list price is 92%. Ours is 97%. So although it seems attractive up front, what would you do with an extra 5%? What would you do with an extra 4%? What would you do with an extra 3%? How are you ensuring that you're netting the most amount of money? Is it just the upfront cost, or is it the overall cost? If column A was a 1,200 total commission, but you only walked out of there with 500,000 net, and column B was my 6%, but you walked out of there with 520 net, which would you prefer? So, and you're not going to win that. You're not going to win that all the time. But what you have to have is your market statistics that are not bullshit, and you need to be able to rifle those off. I know for sure 92% is what Congress Realty sells them for, and I know for sure what we sell them for is 96%. Most of the buyers are offering on top of the 1,200 or our 500. In addition, most of those sellers, are also offering 2.5%. So it's 2.5 or 3% plus 1,200 or plus my 500. Does that make sense, or is that helpful at all? You got to know what your list price to sale price ratio is. You can go in the MLS. You got to know what their list price to sale price ratio. Now, if it's the same, you're going to have an uphill battle. Then it just comes down to personality, getting in front of them and doing old-fashioned sales, which is just having them like, respect, and trust you.
Yeah, I also like how you say cost of acquisition, and you kind of tell this for sale by owner, like, hey, look, these people aren't spending a lot of money up front to find you to help you out. I'm spending a lot of money up front, so that's why I have to charge more. So just being transparent with them and telling them straight up how it is. I love it.
The commission is an investment on netting you more money.
Oh, I like that.
Absolutely.
Heather. Oh, Heather, you are muted. There you go.
Hey, Heather.
Oh, darn. Let me see if I can. I'm going to ask to unmute.
How about now?
Perfect. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thanks, guys. So I think I have a tendency to want to over prepare, probably because of my anxiety to just get on the phone. So can you tell me how much research you do on each individual property, if any?
If I sent you my DISC assessment right now, where it says -40 on C, you would know that I don't do any. So I train my team constantly. Never look at the notes from the last agent in Mojo that called that, or in Land Voice, depending on what you're using. Never look at the notes from the last agent, because we're all calling the same FSBOs. We're all calling the same expireds. I say ignore the notes. That's just for the person that wrote the note. Ignore it. So I do no analyzing. The only analyzing I do is it active or is it withdrawn? That is it. My job is to set the appointment, pre-qualify on the same call, and then call and cancel. I analyze later. The reason why we analyze sometimes is call reluctance. Okay.
Right.
And also we have a tendency, a high S or a high C, and sometimes a high I. The biggest thing that they're afraid of is not looking stupid or asking dumb questions or seeming unprepared. So rather than prepare the property or for that call or researching theirs, what happens is I sold cars when I was young. And my manager said, never pre-qualify. He said, you're going to have a guy walk in here with overalls on and a piece of straw hanging out of his mouth, just look like a total bum, who's probably a farmer, and his net worth is hundreds of millions of dollars because he owns so much land. So never pre-qualify anybody. So I keep in my mind what I'm telling myself mentally in each call is my only job is to call them, be a good human, and try to help them. It doesn't matter what they have, because I'm helping the human, not the property. Okay, so I don't have to analyze anything except my mindset. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, don't research anything. Just call, set the appointment, and then cancel later after you research. Research from 12 on for the rest of the day. Nothing. No admin allowed between 8:30 and 12. None. Throw your cell phone over there, have another phone, make your calls, be undisturbed, and then call me in 2 years and tell me how much higher your net worth is than it is now. Okay. next question, or should I just keep going? Thank you. And that was a great question, by the way.
Yeah, those are great questions. Great questions. Jason,
I loved it.
Go for it.
All right. I like it. I like it. So some of the craziest stuff that I hear FSBO say is, I just want to try it for 2 weeks. Yeah, I hear that all of the time. So these are just some things you should be prepared for. And through the notes that I've provided last week and again this week, you can start to look, you're going to hear that a lot. Okay. And it could just be like common objections that we hear. The most common ones I hear is, I don't want to pay a commission. I've received 10 calls, maybe even from your office already. Listing agents don't do anything that I cannot do. I have a friend that's a realtor. Do you have a buyer, or bring us a buyer? We want to try it for ourselves for a certain amount of time, like I said. And then it's just one of those things where like, you're not, or just come to my open house. And we had role played that out last week, I believe with Scott, which was a really good role play. If you were not on last week's call, he gave me all of the most common objections and I was able to handle those live. And I think that just playing that back is so important, just to see the call cadence. Additionally, and I'm going to get you this, I'm going to blend them all together. I'm going to give you like a 10-minute FSBO recording. I'll get it in Camtasia and cut it up and take the pauses and the ums and all that out of there, where you can just listen to 10 minutes of actual live calling FSBO calls. I'll get that sent out so you can actually watch me do it in action. It was a long time ago. It's hard for me to listen to because I talk over people a lot, which is annoying to them and to me when I play it back. But you'll be able to see how I transition, how I handle that, and then how I go right into the pre-qualification, which is what I really want to talk about. Because you can read, when you get this form, you're going to be able to look at the objections. The number one thing that I do, I want to make sure that I know a few things. I want to know why they're selling. I want to know that. And I find myself over the years not spending enough time on their why. Then I want to know what their when is. Okay. I want to know their why and I want to know their when. And then I really want to understand where they're at pricing wise and everything like that. So transitioning into an appointment or getting into the pre-qual, once you've set the appointment, because you've understood the objection handlers, you understand the script, you're closing early and often, every 2 or 3 questions on the script, you're closing. We went over all the closes last week that we would use or that we would insert. Okay, we've handled the objections last week in the role play. Now, how do I get from, they're like, yes, my team is always like, okay, they say yes, what do I do now? And, you're like, holy shit, I got an appointment. And then you're like, you hang up the phone and then you're like, wait. There's like 20 more questions you were supposed to ask. So I'll get through as many of those questions as I can. The reason why is I'm always trying to build rapport with them, number one, show value, number two, but I'm really trying to not waste time. Again, every minute counts, okay? So when I go, how I transition into the pre-qualification. Now, some people are like, what is a pre-qualification? The moment that you set a buyer or a seller appointment, that's when the real true questions begin. Okay, that's when you're one step closer to being an advisor, trusted advisor, they're expert, and you really need to first it was like, yeah, get the commitment. Now, what do I do in order to, because now we have to start thinking, okay, I use the script, I got my appointment. Now, how the heck do I go take a listing? That middle ground is people talk about that the least. And so I just wanted to touch on that and then take some questions on it. And then if we have to do a third and fourth one of these, by God, we'll do it. But how, like a lot of times they're like, the last thing they get is like, how are you going to do that, Jason? How are you going to net me more? Transitioning into the appointment. I say, that's exactly what we're going to cover today at 3 or would 4 o'clock be better? Now, if you're newer, you're not getting that package ready for them by 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. Try to give yourself 48 hours, but at least 24 hours. The next afternoon. Why don't we do it in the morning? Because you're the doctor and you get to set the appointment. I don't call my doctor and say, I'll be there at 9. Okay. You are. And so 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock is my listing time. Do you know why? Because I eat dinner guaranteed with my family 6 nights a week. I will never go on a listing appointment even if I lose it this late in my career, if I'm going to miss dinner. Now I'll go after dinner sometimes, because I could use less ice cream, that's for sure. But 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock is 95% of my listings, even if the people work. I'll go to their office, I'll go here, I'll go there. It's amazing how people can run home from work if they really need to, but whatever, it doesn't matter. You always give them an either or, a time, and you either give them an either or day, then an either or time. 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock is what I always say. And that's, again, 95% of the time, that's when my listing appointments are. So that's exactly what we're going to go over at our appointment tomorrow at 3, or would 4 be better? I never say, can I come over there tomorrow at 3? I never say that. I always give them a time. Would 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock be better? Would 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock be better? Okay, that's very important to transition into that appointment. You have to get the time set now. Okay. If they say come to an open house, which was a very good thing that I heard last week, and again, play that back, that role play back. I say, this is very, very important. And you've already told me that you want to net the most amount of money. And sometimes at an open house, not always at a FSBO open house, but creating more doubt. But at an open house, sometimes there's just people walking through, grabbing cookies, whatever. Why don't we do this? Why don't I come over a half an hour before? And then we can just go over everything. And if you want to continue with your open house, great, or maybe I can help with that. Okay. Now, if they're struggling or they're just kind of on the fence, that could be a motivation issue. But what I go, if I just can't tip them on the 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 or 6 or 6 or 7, I say, or a lot of times I say, I've got to check with my wife or my husband or my partner or whatever. I say, okay, tentatively, right? And here's the deal. You can always call me back and cancel, but tentatively, would 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock be better? Tentatively is very powerful, especially with an I, S, or C. A little bit of emotion there. Again, they're non-committal a little bit, although an I will commit faster than anyone else and respond to text faster than anyone else as well. I love my eyes. But it's one of those things. The people that don't want to look dumb or don't want to make a mistake or kind of, they're just, it's hard for them to make a decision. Like if you're at Subway and you're behind a C or an S, oh, Lord have mercy. You could be in line for an hour and a half. There's just too many options, right? So just say tentatively with 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock worth. And here's the thing. You can always call me back and cancel after you talk to your significant other and they're just not okay with it. Okay. So tentatively is another good word to transition into the appointment. Try to never set an appointment more than 72 hours out because they'll usually cancel. Okay. Do not take the easy way out. 72 hours is usually too far out. Now, if they're on vacation and they want to meet in person and you have to go see the house, or they're here, we have a lot of snowbirds because it's cold. Like it's 15 degrees outside right now and I'm freezing out of my camper. I can't believe my breath is not, there. But it's one of those things where, yes, that's the only, if they're just not physically there and you got to see the house, that's the only time to set it for longer than that. But you better be following up every 3 or 4 days with something. When I into my prequel, after I go through these because I really want to know exactly what their motivation is. And I'm almost looking for a way not to go. I want to make sure this is not a preview because I'm not going to allow those. So I need to make sure this person is absolutely a 7, 8, 9, or 10 on the motivation scale by the way they answer some of these following questions. And I'll ask some of. And again, Adam, if you ever want to do a whole hour or 45 minutes or 30 minutes on just pre-qualifying, let me know. I'll try to get through a few of them now, at least the most important ones for sale by owner. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm looking forward to meeting you at 4 o'clock so that I can be professionally prepared for our appointment and so that you don't leave any money on the table, which you said is important to me, especially with the FSBO. There's a number of questions I need to ask. Get their buy-in. Is that okay? They'll say, sure. Or how long is this going to take? Just say, just a minute. Let's go. Tell me again, where are you moving to? Is this a business move or a personal move? When they answer that, repeat and approve. Just say, that's incredible. Tell me more about that. Like what's important? Now you're trying to find out their life story. Okay. Too often I see one word written in right there and then on to the next question. I want a storybook to be written here. Okay. I want to know their kids' names, their grandkids' names, that they're going down there. I want to know all of that because I'm going to recall. when I'm at a listing presentation, I've got the prequal. Oh, that's what's on the left side. Now that is my script. And I'm saying, I'm going to reference my notes because this is super, while I'm at the appointment, I'm going to reference my notes. What you told me the other day that's important to you, I have some important questions to ask you today. And is that okay? That way, when you're looking down at your script, they're not like, is this person an idiot? Why aren't they looking in my eyes? Because you've already pre-told them that you're going to be looking at your notes. Now, ideally, tell me more about timing. Okay. When would you like to actually be moved out of this house and into your next house? That is so important. What's important about that time frame? How is that going to make you feel? What would happen if you didn't get sold by then? I also want to know that. These are banter questions in between the script questions. I want to know their whole life story. Here's a real important one for sale by owners. Number 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your motivation to sell this home? Now, a 7 to 10 is my target. If they say 1 to 7, and we're likely going to have some pricing issues. They're going to want to be way up here. We're going to have some commission issues. And also, if I am lucky enough to list it there, I'm going to have price when I go in for a price reduction and the motivation is low because the house hasn't sold. And I pre-tell them I'm calling them every 2 weeks for a reduction if we don't have 3 to 5 showings a week in an offer. Okay. I preface that at the listing appointment, but I need to know what their motivation level is because it's going to start to tell me if this is a person I want to spend time with. I have built my business to the point where I'm no longer desperate for listings, and this didn't happen overnight. I get to pick and choose the clients who make me happy and give the rest to my team. Just kidding. Okay. So if I sell your house in the next 30 to 60 days, would that pose a problem for you? We're trying to draw out the time. We're trying to draw out their motivation right here. And we're especially with FSBOs, and we're really trying to draw out more. I'm trying to because when I say your house is worth 500 and they want to be at 700 or 600, I'm recalling the more time I spend on the first 6 or 7 questions of this prequel, the easier it is for me to take that listing. Okay. I averaged when I was not running a team or when I just had one agent, I averaged 80 to 100 listings taken per year. I'm down to about 60 right now. And so, which, I need to step up my game, but I'm averaging about 5 a month right now as a team lead. Okay. And I'm trying to get that down to 1 or 2 as we start to train in these FSBOs and expireds for my team. We're really spending more time there than internet leads right now. Okay. Do you plan to meet more than one agent? This is the hardest question for people to ask. You're probably not the only FSBO agent calling on the for sale by owner. So I say, do you plan on interviewing more than one agent for the job of selling your home? And that's so hard for agents to ask that question because they don't want that rejection or to know about the competition, but you have to know who you're competing against so you can pull your team's market stats versus their individual stats or your individual stats versus the individual stats. You should have both of those, by the way, and say, do you mind if what does track record matter to you? Yes, it does. Okay, fantastic. So would you mind sharing with me who you're interviewing? I train my agents extensively on going last when they're new. Now, if they're in the business for over 2 years, I train them to go whatever their comfort level is. But so if they say, well, Bob's coming over and Brenda's coming over, say, great. When's Bob coming over? He's coming over today at 2, right after you. Okay, fantastic. When's Brenda coming over? Tomorrow at 4. Okay, great. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like you to listen to both of their presentations, and then I'm going to come in and we can just close the deal. Okay. But what I'd like to do is go ahead and move our appointment back a little bit. So would 5 or 6 work better tomorrow night? That way you've heard all the pitches and then you can hear mine. Now, does track record matter? I already said that a minute ago. Yes, it does. Great. So would it be okay if I brought the market stats for that agent? That's what I'm going to do. I'm bringing everything that they've done, list price to sale price ratio and everything else. I'm going to dissect them, not literally, but I'm not Dexter. But anyways, but I'm going to go ahead and figure out what that is. And one of the most powerful things I say at a listing presentation is obviously the proof is in the pudding, right? Would you agree with that? And they go, yes. So if you could those two agents could like give you the best presentation in the whole entire world. Like at the end, you stand up and you give them a round of applause. I mean, they got gold and flowers and roses flying out of their mouth. I mean, it's just amazing. And then you come out of the ether because the presentation was so good after your applause. You come out of the ether and you ask the most important question. How many resident listings have you sold this year and or in the last 12 months? Now I'm telling them this. And they say, well, 3 or 4. No offense to anyone who's closing 3 or 4. You believe me, you can get up to whatever you want with the right skills and the right attitude. And I'm going to say, great. So, is it okay? And they're going to be what that does is it creates doubt in their mind about what other agents are doing. So I do bring over, if there is someone I'm competing against, all of the market stats because mine win every single time. Now, sometimes you're going to get out commissioned, out marketed. You're going to get out liked. They're just not going to like you. And that's completely okay. The thing is to remember, and I'll stop there. And we can continue this because I know we're probably short on time and we have some questions. The most important thing to remember is, again, prospecting solves all production and income problems. It really does. And skilled prospecting solves all income or production problems is probably what I should have said. So what we have to do is we have to improve our skills, and we don't do that through the act of prospecting. We do that prior to it's just like practice before a game. Do you think the NFL players are watching tape? Absolutely. Do you think that they're practicing every single day with and without pads? Yes. Do you think that they're in the weight room? Yes. So why do we, as real estate agents, think that we can just grab a script and hop on the phone with real people with no prior practice? So I'll end with that. And anytime you want to go through the 23 questions of the pre-qual, just say the word and we'll do it. Okay.
I love that. Any questions? Anything that comes to mind as we wrap up, guys? Anything that we didn't get to this morning? I know it's early in the morning, so kudos to the
Hey, at least you're warmer than I am, I'm sure. I mean,
that is true. That
oh my
is true.
gosh. Yeah.
I love it. We have, so be on the lookout later today, guys, for number 1, the replay of this. So a replay of the first one, replay of the second one, right? Click the links. That's how you find the replay. And then the attachments that Jason has for us so that, what did you say, Jason? You said, prospecting does what?
Prospecting solves all production and income problems.
Skilled prospecting.
Skilled prospecting, correct. Yeah, that's what I said. I corrected myself.
No, it's wonderful. So if you haven't called for Sold by Owners in a while or never, this is a good intro. Last week is an awesome intro. This is another part 2 awesome intro, and now we're inspired. Now we feel like, wow, you know what? I think I might be able to do this. And then we got to get into the skill part, right? And so re-listening to it, practicing with our friends on the team. If you don't have friends on the team, might be a problem, but there's friends within place, right? Just pop into our happy place and someone will want to be your script partner on For Sale by Owners.
Catalina, I have 5 agents who are looking for sale by owner role play partners today.
Wow. Got it.
So email me, jason@jasonbakerteam.com, and I will get you in touch with all of them. And we practice FSBOs every day.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm going to put Jason's information in the email as well so that number 1, he serves Montana. If you've got a person out there that wants to sell or buy in Montana, if he doesn't cover it, he knows who covers it. So think of Jason for Montana, and then we'll have you back to do some more fun stuff with us. You are amazing. Sarissa, you nailed it. Jason is one of our favorite humans of all time. So I love that. Derek, I see your question. Yes, I'm going to send that out. And that is awesome. Perfect. Guys, have a good rest of your day. We're 1 minute over, not too bad. Have a good Halloween. Start your holiday month tomorrow and get out there and vote, people. We'll see you later. Bye, guys.